Hi everyone, this is Readout News. I'm here with Andrea Parker. We're going to talk slow for the first couple of seconds, but then we're going to share this around when we're done. We have spent some time, I went out to Pahrump last night and I met with a couple of our Patriot political prisoners, and they were very good visits. And this morning Andrea took me out in Henderson to meet with the defendants out here, and those were also very good visits. So we want to tell you a little bit about them and let you know what they need, and if you can help, that would be awesome. So last night we went and saw, I got to see Todd Engel, and he was just smiling and upbeat and just totally amazing to me. I was so shocked to see such a big smile on his face, and half of that was because he really liked seeing somebody from home. And he would like to have some messages from home, so if you want to gather some up, personal messages for him, send them to me, message me with them, email, whatever you want to do. I'm going to go visit him next week, and I will take them all to him directly. He's doing good on his commissary. He doesn't need that, but he is worried about Andrea. He's worried about Andrea, and he's also worried about Brianna. So if you can help in that way, that would make Todd very happy. I also got to see Ryan Payne, and he's actually doing very well. He's, focused. He knows this is God's battle, and he's just a part of it. And he's actually doing much better, considering he's such a big part of this. I thought that he might be a little bit more consumed with it, but he's worried about his family. Of course, he wants people checking on him and seeing how they're doing. And other than that, he's doing pretty well. Today we got to see all the defendants. It was great. Some of them are a lot more joyous than I think I could ever be. We're going to start. Let Andrea tell you a little bit about what's going on with them, and then we'll let you know what they've said they needed, if anything.
All right. So the defendants here in this trial, it's Eric Parker, my husband, Stephen Stewart from Haley, Idaho, Scott Drexler from Challis, Idaho, and Ricky Loveland from Montana. This is a retrial, so they went back to Pahrump and they came back down to Henderson, and it's been pretty tough for Eric in the courtroom the last couple days. He's really getting beat up. What they're throwing at him is character assassination. They are trying to use jury nullification against him with character assassination. And they feel like it worked for Todd, so they're trying to do this for these individuals. The information that they have in the courtroom, it's ridiculous. But the jury questions, and I think all of the defendants today had said that the jury questions are the only thing that keeps them going right now. At the end of Sarah Draper, who was the FBI agent for Idaho, at the end of her testimony, there was 13 jurors that had questions. Many of them had page-long questions. And that was really uplifting to these guys. I think some of their questions were things like, are you going to bring any actual evidence or any better evidence in? Did Eric Parker ever say any actual threats? Did he ever say on his Facebook that he was going to shoot officers of the law? There were some really great questions in here, and it means that we have a couple jurors that are using their brains. So these guys are all pretty uplifted that they at least have another hung jury. Of course, we would like to see acquittals, and we would like to see some of these charges at the very least dropped off. I know that the government is pushing hard, and I believe that if they do get a mistrial here, they're going to go after it again, and they'll come back without jury questions. They're going to do everything they can, so we've really got to fight this fight really hard. I know everyone has talked about how much the support in the courtroom really helps them. They really love seeing Sherry. It was their first time meeting her, but they've seen her in the courtroom every day, so they felt like they already knew her. Same thing, if you guys come down here and you sit in the courtroom with us and you're here over the weekend, please get with me. I would love to take you down to the courtroom or to the jailhouse and visit with these guys. Stephen Stewart's one of my favorite people to have new people visit because he is so animated, he's so uplifting. Todd Engel's the same way.
They amazed me, I have to tell you. Stephen and Todd spent their time trying to make sure I was uplifted instead of me trying to do the same for them. They actually spent their time thinking their job was to keep me feeling positive.
Absolutely. And, you know, we used to take people, if they were staying over the weekend, we'd take them down to visit. And if they were first or they were a little nervous about it, I'm like, you have to visit either Steven Stewart or Todd. Some of these people like Ricky Loveland and Todd Engel, I actually didn't know before I got down here. I did know Eric and Steve and Scott, but I didn't know Ricky and Todd and Greg. And I've got to say that spending my time down here, I spend my weekends, I go and visit people that don't always have visits, and I've gotten to know these guys, and they're now like my family. And anyone that comes down here that would like to go and visit, I can help you make that happen. And we'd love to see you down at the courthouse, and come and see in the courtroom for yourself. It's amazing. And a lot of people that go, they come out and they say, well, why don't you exaggerate more? You're not exaggerating enough. You're not giving us the full story. And I said, well, if I did that, no one would believe me. And so you need to be down here to see it for yourself.
That's absolutely true. I found that out right from the very first day. I absolutely believed every report that I was getting while I was at home, because I checked with a lot of people. I verified everything before I posted it. And some of it seemed a little far-fetched, but I thought maybe it's just a matter of perception. Everybody can perceive things a little bit differently. You know, what seems awfully bad to me might not seem quite as bad to the next person. But everything seemed to be extremely bad down here on everybody's perception. So when I walked into the courtroom on the first day, that was the first thing that struck me. All through the day, it was as bad as they've been saying. And it's very hard to get every bit of it out. It's hard to tell every story that's going on in there. And I'm trying to get to them, and we're working on them. But it really is the most unconstitutional trial I have ever seen in my life. And I have followed a few, from the federal level down to the county level. I have never seen, even in Oregon, watching Anna Brown. We didn't like her at all, but she knew the law. That's one thing I can't fault her on, is she absolutely knew the law. She doesn't have to pull out a book every time somebody makes an objection and look up what rule that is. You know, which we see a lot down here. She knew the law, and she thought, you could see that in her mind, she thought she was applying it correctly. I didn't necessarily agree with her, but she thought she was. She was really trying to follow the law. And we can disagree on points of the law, so long as that's what she's trying to do. This one down here doesn't have she doesn't have a concern about that part of it. The impressions that she gives off is that the law is not her priority. You know, locking these guys up for the rest of their life, that's her priority. And that's what her goal is, and that's what she works towards.
Absolutely.
We don't have a whole lot of requests for these guys. We have a couple. Let's see. I've talked about Todd and Ryan. Steven wants videos and pictures from his family, but from home. He wants something on a thumb drive. You know what? If all we can do is I'll go out there and send somebody out to take pictures of his hometown and of Idaho, we'll get those to him. Anything else, you know, people that he knows, get them on a thumb drive, get them to his attorney. If you don't know how to do that, Andrea will be happy to help you.
Absolutely. And also, if you write to him, you can take pictures off of his Facebook, off of Leanne Beatty's Facebook, or Lynn Stewart, his ex-wife's Facebook, with their kids. Pictures like that, you can just copy them, print them out on the computer, and send that in as well with your story, with your letter. I know that would be uplifting for him as well.
That's what he misses more than anything. Scott, now Scott's amazing. He really is. But the one thing that he spent a lot of time telling me about was his dog. I've never heard of a Mackie Fuzzy, but I'm going to go look this one up. But he said his dog, now I only heard part of the story, but apparently his dog was accidentally shot a couple of weeks ago. They've saved the dog. He's doing well. He's at home. But the vet bills have been tremendous. So any help that Chelsea can have on the vet bills would be very appreciated by Scott. He wants to let everybody know that he really appreciates them, and just keep it going. Keep it going. Keep the fight going. we're going to tell you more about Eric in a few minutes. We'll come back to him. I've got an interesting one from Ricky. He's doing really well. I like Ricky. He's very down to earth. The one thing that he really would like is a book on origami. So they have paper in there, but they don't have a whole lot of things to do. Now, I understand that there's special ways of sending these books, which I'm sure y'all will put in the comments to make sure everybody knows how to do it. But a book on origami is something that they can actually keep themselves occupied with, and he's willing to leave it behind for the prisoners there when he leaves, wherever that, hopefully home, but wherever that ends up being. He wants to help these guys by giving them things to do, and that may be one of the few things that they can do while they're in there. Pardon me. So if anybody can come up with a book on origami for them, that would be greatly appreciated. I believe that their commissaries are all pretty good right now.
Thanks to Americans Standing for Liberty.
Thank you. I think Ryan Payne is the only one that needed anything on his commissary, and that went out last night with John Lamb. So hopefully that has been upgraded a little bit and he won't have to worry about it. I did not realize, now out in Pahrump, they actually have access to email, but they're charged 5 cents a minute to access it. So if they don't have anything on their commissary, they cannot access their email. So that is something we also want to think about, not just the stuff that we normally think about, but that's an important part of their communication. So we'd like to make sure that Ryan has something on his books for that. Now,
I'd also like to put in there, if you're sending things to these guys, you can go to the Henderson City Detention Center webpage, and it will give you all the rules and regulations, how to send books, all of that information with the addresses there at the Henderson City Detention Center webpage. Just in case you need to know, I know books have to be softcover, and each of the jails is different. So I always suggest going there and checking out the rules and regulations before you send something, so you don't send it and get it back and get frustrated.
Now with Eric, he's been a rock. He has. He's been very solid and very supportive of everything and everybody. The one thing that he needs right now to keep him just as solid is not just notes from everybody, but scripture verses, verses that, quotes, anything that is important to you in a small piece, not a long piece, but a short piece that he can read during his breaks or whatever in the courthouse. That keeps him uplifted and helps keep him focused. He's talked about how he's gotten so much closer to God, and which is what we all know is very important. But I noticed from the very first day during sidebars and such like that he will sit there very quietly reading his scriptures, and then when they come back from sidebar, it's like he's been rejuvenated. So we can't stress enough how important that is to him. So notes with little uplifting verses of any kind, there you go. That's what he needs.
Yeah, quotes from the Constitution, your favorite Bible verse. He'll go and highlight it in his Bible and bring it into the courtroom with him. They are picking on him inside the courtroom.
Yeah, the first thing I got to tell you, the first thing I asked him, I said, all right, get up and turn around and show me the big target on your back, because you obviously have one.
During all the sidebars, there's actually a person that peeks out to make sure that he's not looking any other direction. He literally has to read that book for the sidebars, or he will be thrown out of the courtroom again. And they want to throw him out of the courtroom again. So if you have some extra time, send him your favorite quote from one of our founding fathers, your quote from the Constitution, or your favorite Bible verse. It will help him get through this.
Yes, it will.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
This